Namaskar friends, Sunil here, and yesterday AMD launched their 5000 series Ryzen desktop CPUs with Gen 3 microarchitecture, and in this video we are going to look at what performance improvement and new features these CPUs bring on table, and who should buy these CPUs and what you will get once you upgrade to these CPUs. So let's begin by looking first at the CPUs launched yesterday. So the new AMD flagship is now Ryzen 9 5950X, which will be launched at $799, which if you convert to Indian rupees is roughly 58,760, and I assume it will launch in India around 70,000 rupees price mark. Now it comes with 16 core 32 thread. Base frequency is 3.4 GHz and boost frequency is 4.9 GHz. It comes with 72 MB cache and 105 watt TDP rating. And of course it's based on dual chiplet, so per chip there is 8 cores. And remember, all these processors are based on AMD's 7nm process node, which are similar to their 3000 series CPUs. So next in line is Ryzen 9 5900X. It's a $549 chip or 40,370, and to my expectation it will launch around rupees 50,000 in Indian market. It comes with 12 core 24 thread. Base frequency is 3.7 GHz. Boost frequency is 4.8 GHz, 70 MB of cache, and again 105 watt TDP rating. It's also based on dual chiplet design. The next in line is Ryzen 7 5800X. It's a $449 or 33,020 rupees CPU, and in Indian market it is expected to launch around rupees 40,000. It is 8 core 16 thread, similar to last generation Ryzen 7 CPUs. Base frequency is 3.8 GHz and boost frequency is 4.7 GHz. 36 MB of total cache. TDP rating is 105 watts, so it will have a better sustained frequencies or turbo frequencies across the core in long workloads. And it's based on single chiplet, so there is a one chip in which all the 8 cores are positioned. The next or the last in the line is Ryzen 5 5600X. It's a $299 or 21,919 rupees CPU. It will again cost around 26,000 rupees in Indian market. Now this CPU comes with 6 core 12 thread, base frequency 3.7 GHz, boost frequency 4.6 GHz, 35 MB cache, 65 watt TDP, and it's based on again single chiplet. And this CPU comes with cooler. Remember guys, the other CPUs, I mean Ryzen 7, Ryzen 9 5900X and 5950X, all those CPUs, they don't come with stock cooler. And the thought behind is that AMD feels, the people who are buying those CPUs are enthusiast grade and they will like to have their own cooling solutions for better performance, so they have not included the stock coolers with Ryzen 7 Plus CPUs in this 5000 series. All the processors will be available for purchase from 5th November 2020 globally, and at the start all new 5000 series CPUs will be compatible with 500 series motherboard, but then there is a catch, onto which I will come later in this video. Also, it's worth noting that AMD has increased the price of all its new processors by $50 compared to last gen launch prices. And in my view, AMD is now confident that they have best processor for gaming and they will beat Intel's best offering in gaming world. Plus, they are already miles ahead in other workload performance compared to Intel. So all this has given confidence to Dr. Lisa Su to charge a premium of $50 while still maintaining best performance per dollar. And behind all this performance and confidence is a new Gen 3 microarchitecture which promises 19% raw increase in IPC and few important tweaks in cache and core complex workings. So now since we have covered the hardware side, let's look at the emotional and monetary side of these chipset. If you want to upgrade, should you upgrade, and once you upgrade, what you gonna get in return? And answer depends on primary use of your computer. If you use your PC for gaming, then in short, yes, you can upgrade. Depending on if you're not happy with your current setup, you can always upgrade. And remember, compared to 3000 series chipset, the 5000 series chipsets are promising big lift in gaming performance. Because of that single thread performance improvement, we are expecting to see a big lift in performance in gamings. So if you're a gamer who wants to get more out of his system and you're using, let's say, 2000 series or lower AMD chips or 8th generation of Intel or lower, you can simply go ahead and upgrade to 5000 series chipset if your budget or pocket allows. But if you are using 3000 series AMD CPUs or let's say 10th generation i7s or i9 Intel CPUs, then there is a catch which will come to in a bit. But first, address the non-gamers. I mean, people who use their PC primarily for creative work, designing, CAD, multimedia, Microsoft Office work, and then watching Netflix, browsing Chrome, everything. For those people, I mean, it depends. If you're not happy with your system, if you think your system is lagging, not performing to your expectations, then of course it's time for you to upgrade. But if we look at some rules, if you are using 3rd generation or 3000 series AMD CPUs, I don't think there is a need for upgrade, because in multi-core performance, the 5000 series CPUs doesn't bring that big of performance uplift. It's a single digit gain in performance when it comes to multi-core performance. So all those creative people, I mean photo editors, video editors, people doing CAD designing and all, for them the performance uplift by shifting from, let's say, 3000 series chipset to a 5000 series CPU is not going to be that big. So if you're happy with your current system, I don't see any reason to upgrade to 5000 series CPU. But if you're using 2000 series CPUs of AMD or let's say 8th generation of Intel or any lower, then there is a strong case to upgrade to 5000 series CPU if you feel that your workflow is hampered by the performance of your CPU. Remember this, if you're happy with your system, I don't see any reason to upgrade now. You can always go that extra mile and then upgrade later. Technology keeps on improving. I'd rather suggest to spend your cash on a better display. I mean, you can always upgrade your monitor, which will improve your workflow and experience with your system. Now let's come back to gamers and understand their case for upgrade in details. And when it comes to upgrading PCs, I always follow balancing act for upgrades. And here is how this act goes for gamers. So first step, look at your display. Before taking your wallet out and spending on new CPU or GPU, look at your display and see what spec it has. I mean, are you using 1080p, 1440p or 4K display? Does it have 60 Hz, 75 Hz, 120 Hz, 144 Hz? What's the refresh rate of that display? And what are the games you play? So you gotta focus on these points, your display specification and what type of games you play, and then accordingly decide what you need to get. For example, if you're using 1080p 60 Hz monitor, doesn't matter what CPU or GPU you get, you are limited to 1080p 60 frames per second performance. It doesn't matter you get 3950X or 5950X in NVIDIA RTX 3090, you still gonna get 1080p at 60 FPS, because that's what your monitor is capable to show to your eyes. So always keep in mind your display, your monitor specs when you're upgrading. Then the next question comes, GPU or CPU? Which one should I give preference to when upgrading? I mean, which one is creating a bottleneck in my gaming experience? So in today's modern era, if you have a decent graphics card and GPU, a CPU, the rule of thumb is, like, if you're playing games at 1080p resolution, your CPU is most likely to cause bottleneck. And if you're playing a 4K resolution games, your GPU is most likely to cause a bottleneck. So again, if you have a 1080p monitor, that means you're playing games at 1080p resolution. So in that case, spending money on a very high-end graphics card like RTX 3080 or 3090 will not give you the effective performance boost in your gaming because you are playing games at 1080p, and in this case the CPU is what most likely restricting your game's performance. So if you're playing games at 1080p monitor, I'll suggest you first upgrade a bit to better CPU so that you will get an effective performance boost. You can see that performance boost. Of course, you need to have those refresh rate in your monitor to experience. And if you have a 4K monitor, then I will suggest you should first upgrade your GPU so that you can have a better performance in your games. So this is the rule, guys, in modern era for upgradation. So again, look at your monitor, what monitor you're using, and if you're planning to upgrade, how soon you upgrade, because sometimes we feel okay, we'll upgrade monitor after upgrading our CPU and GPU, and then if you're not upgrading your monitor very soon, you are actually wasting money. Technology keeps on improving every year. So if you're not upgrading your monitor in, let's say, within 4 or 5 months of upgrading your CPU and GPU, then you're probably losing your money in that case. So keep that thing in mind. Now let's come back to the motherboard, which I said there's a catch in motherboard things. So yes, all the 5000 series chipset will be compatible with 500 series motherboard from 5th November when it goes on sale. But then the catch is all the 500 series motherboard needs to get a newer firmware. They need to get upgraded to a newer firmware. Here is the firmware version. You can see the firmware number. For people who already have a system, for them it is easier because if you're using a 500 series board, you can always download the new firmwares, upgrade it, and then buy a CPU, put in a slot, and it will boot. But for those people who are building fresh or new PC or don't have any spare system with them, for them the problem is like you cannot buy a 500 series motherboard right now from market, and on 5th you can buy a CPU, put it in, and it will not post because the firmwares are old. For you guys, you have two options. Either you buy a motherboard and take it to some computer shop to upgrade the firmware, and then buy a 5000 series CPU and put it in a motherboard and it will post. And the second option is you have to wait, let the fresh motherboards with upgraded firmware come into the market. You can buy those motherboards and then your build will be hassle free. And for people who are using 400 series motherboard, yes, the AMD has confirmed that 5000 series CPUs are compatible with 400 series motherboard. But then the firmware upgrade will only arrive by early January 2021. Guys, remember January 2021. So you have to wait till January to get those firmware updates. Then only you can put the Ryzen 5000 series CPUs in your motherboard. Remember this. So keep an eye on your motherboard companies for the firmware updates. And you can always request them to probably push the firmware updates as soon as possible so that you can upgrade as soon as possible. So these are the things, guys. If you still have any doubt regarding upgrades or processors, you can go ahead in comment section, write them. I'll try to answer your questions as soon as possible. And if you like this video, hit that like button, hit that red subscribe button. Let's get connected. Share this video with your friends and family. You don't know who can get benefited with it. And I'll see you soon. Till then, take care. Ciao.